Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with my friend and one of my coaching clients, Dr. J. Now, Dr. J is a healthcare professional who helps other healthcare professionals get the joy and benefits of investing in real estate without the hassles and headaches of being a landlord or flipper themselves. Now, Dr. J talks about her journey, overcoming her own self-doubt, the education gaps, and what it took for her to go bigger in commercial real estate. This is a conversation you definitely want to check out if you have your own limiting beliefs or self-doubts and you need help overcoming those challenges. Listen to how Dr. J was able to do that right here in this episode of Multifamily Insights. When you think you found a great deal, asking the right questions could be the difference in finding a stud or a dud. Listen, we've put together a new guide to help you out. It's called 7 Questions You Must Ask Before Investing in Apartments. Now, in this guide, you're going to learn how to uncover red flags, quickly identify underwriting risk, vet sponsors and team members, and confirm key assumptions. Now, this is a guide that's going to help you be a better investor, whether you're an active investor or you're a passive investor looking to partner with other operators. Asking better questions is the key to identifying great opportunities. So download this free guide. Go to our website, casmoncapital.com/7 questions. That's the number 7 questions. And you can access this free guide today. To make it easy on you, though, we've put a link in our show notes. So you go to the show notes, you can click that link and access the guide right now. This guide's going to help you make better investment choices, asking the right questions to build your portfolio. So be sure to download it today. Janeeka Benoit is known as Dr. J, a full-time travel physician and real estate investor with over 60 units. Now, she became an accidental landlord during internal medicine residency and now helps physicians and professionals regain their time through passive real estate investing so they can focus on family, freedom, and fulfillment. Let's welcome to the show, Dr. Janeeka Benoit.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, John.
Absolutely. Hey, Dr. J, it's great to have you on. I went over your background at a very, very high level. Why don't you take a couple of minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Yes, so I am a full-time travel physician. I'm board certified in internal medicine and sports medicine. And the great thing about that is I have the flexibility and I create my own schedule. So when I am not actively seeing patients, I'm working on my real estate business. And it gives me more time to learn just more about the business and structure my business and find out ways to make it better. And so far, it's been a journey, but a fun journey nonetheless. Started off as an accidental landlord in 2018 when I was a second year internal medicine resident. And I found myself in a position where I had to take more responsibility than I had intended to. And it just went off from the races from there. But I'll leave some more of information for the rest of the interview. But that's how I started.
Yeah, you talked about, becoming an accidental landlord in 2018, full-time physician right now, travel physician, focused on internal medicine and sports medicine. And I think our listeners, at least for me, when I hear you talk about that, that feels like a pretty demanding job. So, when you talk about being an accidental landlord, I get kind of how you may have a home that you ended up renting out. But talk to us a little bit more about the real estate journey, particularly how you balance your time, because I'm imagining you pretty busy in the medical field and in the healthcare industry, but you are also actively investing in deals too. So talk to us more about that.
Yeah, so initially it was really, really hard, right? Because I was um, landlording, and at the time I had 3 single family homes. So it was two single family in a duplex, and I was doing that as a resident. So for those who don't know, that's pretty much a doctor in training, and residency hours are very, very rigorous. And it was tough learning how to do both. And not only was I learning how to invest in real estate and manage these homes, I had to also learn the business side of it and how to manage cash flows and look at bookkeeping, which was something so new to me. And let's say I got burned out very quickly, very, very quickly. And I remember having a conversation with my CPA, and I was literally bawling, crying to her. And I said, I can't do this. This is too much for me. This is overwhelming. I'm very early in my medical career, and I feel like I need to choose. And I don't know how to handle all of this by myself. And I thought that she was going to offer me some empathy and some consoling, but she simply said to me, "You need to go bigger." And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? I was like, I just told you that I am having trouble manage two single family homes and a duplex, and you're telling me I need to go bigger? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And she says, no. What you do is you need to purchase an apartment building. And I'm like, what? Like, how am I going to purchase an apartment building? And then she's like, well, you don't do it by yourself. You do it with other people and you get to share the load. And you won't feel as overwhelmed as you do now because you're leveraging the expertise of others. And then I'm like, okay, well, tell me more, tell me more. And that led me to Mike Ely, who we both know. And I've been part of the Big Deal Maker ever since. And it's been a journey there, but that's how I eventually got into apartment syndications.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you talked about being overwhelmed, and I can picture or at least envision being that resident, from at least TV, right? They look pretty busy. So
Yes.
a lot of hours, on call, on shift, right? You're working long hours. You're trying to balance this real estate business as well, and it's just a couple of units. So you're probably having to do a lot of the heavy lifting, or at least a lot of the strategy and the thinking behind it. And you're talking to your CPA about the level of stress and saying, "Hey, I can't manage this." And you got some unexpected feedback to go bigger, instead of selling it off or, getting out of real estate and just focus on medicine. She told you to go bigger. And that mentality allowed you to shift to say, okay, if I go bigger, I can now leverage other people. I can have a team around me. I'm going to be working and investing as a group as opposed to doing it all by myself, which is where maybe that anxiety, that stress was coming in from. Getting into more multifamily syndications. You mentioned Mike Ely, who's both a friend and a business partner. So, being in that program with Mike gave you kind of the foundation to grow and scale. Talk to us about, going from joining kind of that group to being able to start investing in deals.
Okay, so when I first joined the group, I thought I was in the wrong room because people were talking in millions. And I'm like, I don't understand. You guys are talking about multi-million dollar properties. And so it was a new language I had to get accustomed to, this $1 million language. And then there was this whole new vocabulary that I had to learn too, an equity multiplier and a cap rate. I'm like, what is all of this? And so just learning the new language of that was a challenge for me. But I kept on going to the calls. I went to every conference there was. Despite hearing all this vocabulary, I kept on going to all the conference and I kept on hearing the same words over and over again. So this vocabulary became less intimidating to me. And because the more conference I went to, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually know what that means now. Because I just kept on going and I kept on staying involved. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is not as intimidating. I actually know what's going on. And then there was one conference that we had, I forget which when it was. I want to say maybe it was in 2023. But we were talking about building a brand and we had to talk about our story. And I didn't think I had a story. And I was kind of even like put off to even do the assignment because I'm like, oh, what, like, this is so annoying. Like, I thought we're just talking about real estate and talk about apartment buildings. Like, what does this have to do with anything? And we had to just tell our story to our partner. And I told my story. And at the end of it, I was like, oh my goodness, I have a story and I have people to share this story with. I can share this with other physicians and other professionals who may want to get into real estate. They don't have the time, or they're already a landlord and they're already burnt out, and they want to find a way that is less stress to invest in real estate without investing a lot of their time. This is something that I can bring to the physician, the healthcare professional community. And then that's when the light bulb went off. I was like, oh my goodness, I think I have something here. I think I have a brand. And that was a eureka moment for me. And throughout the journey, I, sometimes been scared to lean into it, lean into this brand, and lean into the people that I can help who have a similar story as me. But as I said, I just kept on staying involved. I kept on going to the calls. I kept on going to the conferences. And because I kept on attending, despite the fear, despite doubt, I learned that I have something so much bigger than I didn't previously realize. And that has, all come full circle. And obviously, I have you to thank. I, would call you in between patients like, John, I need help. And thank you so much for taking my calls because I'm like, I only have 5 minutes. Help me. So, but no, it's been a journey. It's been a great journey, and I'm so grateful.
But Dr. J, happy to help. You said a couple things that really stand out, right? And I think it's great to hear you talk about it because it's something that I think a lot of people go through but don't necessarily talk about all the time. And it's really the confidence, right? When you're starting something new, this world is built to be intimidating, right? Commercial real estate, the jargon, the technical terms, it can be overwhelming for newer investors, right? And it feels like there's a club that you're not supposed to be a part of, and they're intentionally trying to keep you out. So taking the time to figure out the language and the nuances, that requires some patience, and it also requires you to show up. And to your credit, you kept showing up. You showed up to the calls, you showed up to the events, and so many other people, they get intimidated and then they shy away, right? They decide, hey, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. And they go back to what feels familiar or what feels comfortable. And I want to give you credit and all of our listeners credit for taking action. And sometimes the action is just showing up to listen, to join a call, to be at an event. Like, continue to press forward on the education, and you will eventually get comfortable to the point where you're ready to take action. And that's exactly what you're able to do. The second thing you talked about, though, was you mentioned being at an event where you were asked to share your story. And you said, I didn't think I had a story. And that resonates so much because I recall being in a position very similarly. I didn't think I had a story, and I didn't think anyone wanted to hear what I had to say. I didn't think what I had gone through was that unique or different. And then when you start telling people, they're like, oh my goodness, what? How'd you do this? How'd you get out of that? How'd you manage this? And I want all of our listeners to understand that we all have a unique story because your story is your story. It doesn't mean you had to, you know, crawl through glass or have a death defying experience or anything like that. But whatever your journey is, whatever experiences you've had, they shape how you view everything, how you view the world, how you view investing, the relationships you have. And when you're able to share that story, it helps other people recognize where they can see some success or avoid some of the mistakes that you've made. So it's really important for us to own our voice. And I think a big mistake people make is not owning that voice. You don't have to have a $10 million portfolio or $200 million portfolio to share your story, to share your experiences. So I love that you're sharing your story to help other healthcare professionals learn how to invest in real estate. Let's come back there, right? Because you started by talking about being overwhelmed, and now you're sharing your story with other healthcare professionals. When you're talking to these professionals, what advice or tips would you give them about investing in real estate?
Yeah. So the first tip that I usually give them is number one, they don't have to do it alone, right? If they can decide the level of involvement that they want in real estate, right? Some of them think that, oh, I need to go out there and rehab a house, but how can I do that without when I'm in the hospital? No, you can't. It's important to invest in real estate that is that's complementary to your lifestyle, right? Because if you have the cash but you don't have the time, then investing in an apartment syndication would be something that would be complementary to your lifestyle. And so that is the tip that I usually give is, well, what do you have? Do you have the time? Do you have the money? Like, what is it? And try to invest in real estate or, alternative asset that complements your lifestyle, because otherwise you will end up getting stressed out and then you're going to be resentful. Trust me, I've been there. Ask me how I know. Um, and, and it makes things so much easier. The other thing is, um, to invest in things that you enjoy. So the thing that I really enjoy about apartment syndication is working in a team, and it's very similar to working in medicine, right? Because if I have a very sick patient, I'm consulting other people. I'm consulting a cardiologist, a gastroenterologist, a neurologist, and I get to listen to the recommendations of all these other physicians to help my patient. And it's very similar to an apartment building. We're working with a team and everybody has different levels of expertise. And everyone's level of expertise is helping this sick apartment building. And it's sick because the income is not optimized, right? And so it's very similar to that. And that's also what I enjoy about it is that I'm working with others. As a general partner, I'm working with other general partners on my team, and we are working together to improve the health of our building.
I love it. I love that correlation you made to medicine, right? Understanding the health of the business, understanding the health of your patient, and working with other people to identify the best solutions. And it's the same that you would do in real estate as you would do in the medical world. And I love the fact that you kind of make that connection. You talked about one, making sure that you are a part of a team. You don't have to do this by yourself, but have a strategy that matches kind of your lifestyle and your investment risk, your investment time frame. Pick a strategy that matches that, then also figure out what you enjoy, and you enjoy working with the team. Maybe some folks enjoy other aspects of it, but make sure you enjoy the actual strategy that you're employing. I know recently you were able to do some deals. You're active now. You're hosting some meetup events. Talk to us more about getting that word out.
Yeah, so I am, the journey has been like this, right? Up this roller coaster. And so I'm feeling at a point where like I'm riding up this roller coaster and it's exciting, because I'm like getting to the top and that's where I am right now in my journey. And so this year I've been hosting in-person real estate meetups. And the first one that I had was in February, and I had about 6 people show up to that meetup, and I reviewed. I had recordings going on, and so I was able to review the meetup and really pay attention to the underlying the questions that people were asking me. And based on those underlying questions, I created another presentation for my last meetup in March that really got to those questions. So I wanted to make sure that I had a really good pulse on what people were going to ask. And so I created a new presentation based on what people asked. And I went through the deal that I closed on with our team. We all closed on in October, Northwood Apartments. And 18 people showed up to that. And so that attendance tripled in size, just from the first one. And it was amazing to see so many healthcare professionals in the space. We had dentists, we had residents, attending physicians. There were even some aspiring medical students there as well. And it was so much fun to be able to offer that to the healthcare professional community, because it's not very often where you see a healthcare professional talking about building wealth and speaking about how you can do that, especially on alongside to your medical career. And so it was really great just to provide space for that and to explain and show myself as a living proof that this can indeed be done.
I love it. I'm glad you're actually, actively having these conversations. I know starting out, it can always be a little daunting and maybe even intimidating, but the fact that you're able to share this knowledge with other professionals, it's really important. I think one thing that we all have to recognize is, you know, your story is your story. And when you show up and share it, like you're somebody that people will connect with, right? In a way that maybe they don't connect to me or connect with somebody else because they have, those connective tissues with your story, specifically for folks who are in the healthcare profession. So when you're able to share that journey, you can help so many others. And it comes down to service. And the thing I love about you and your journey here is when you talk about being in the healthcare space, you all have already committed to an act of service, right? Like that is what that profession is all about. It's helping other people, helping patients get as healthy as they can be. Now you're helping them do the same thing with the investment side. So it's really, really great to hear you talk about how you're able to help these professionals get the most out of what they're doing professionally as well. We've had a couple different calls, right? I know you've reached out multiple times and you have different things. We work together in that capacity. I remember you called me once where you had some self doubt about raising capital and talking to investors. Talk to me a little bit about how you were able to overcome some of those challenges and maybe some of those limiting beliefs you had initially.
Yeah. And it's so amazing to look back and be like, wow, I was so fearful. And it's not to say that I'm not fearful now. They're just now new fears because I'm continuing to elevate. But for me, now it's just like a conversation and a way to help them. And so I literally look at it as a patient encounter because when I'm speaking to a patient, a patient would say, oh, I have stomach pain. All right. But I have to ask further questions to get to the root of that stomach pain. Where is it coming from? Right. And so I treat it the same way, right? Because I'm very comfortable being a doctor and I had to learn how to deal with the discomfort of speaking to people about investing capital into apartment building. But I thought to myself, I'm like, well, it's no different than speaking to a patient because it's really just finding out the source of their problem, finding the root of their problem. And so it's about asking questions, really. And it's to finding out, okay, how can I get to the root of their problem and how can I help them along this journey? Right. And so I look at it as a way of, well, how can I help them? Right. And so I'm always looking to see, well, how can I help them? Where is their problem so that I can provide a solution?
I love that again, going back to leaning into your background. And I think that's something that's really important too, is, your background is going to be different from my background, but we all have a skill set we've developed from school, our personal upbringing, professionally. And you have to rely on some of those soft skills and that correlation between other places where you've had success. And talking to strangers is something you do for a living, right? You have to get to know them, have to identify and diagnose what the situation is. And there's no difference here when it comes to investors, right? Hey, what's going on? Why do you want to invest? What are you looking for investing wise? And then identifying whether or not an investment opportunity is suitable for that individual. So I love the fact you make that connection and that helps you get over maybe some of your fears of public speaking and maybe just talking to investors in general about this space. Talk to me more about the team and the vetting process because, one of the things I know is a challenge for many people is figured out who to invest with. Well, if I'm a healthcare professional, how do I know to invest with this group and not that group? What's your process or feedback there?
Yeah. So for me is the relationship. What type of relationship do I have with the person? And so with me, one of our business partners, Nate, I have we've become really good friends during our mastermind. And we've always just been there for each other, bounced ideas off of each other. And he's helped me. I've helped him. I know his family. He knows my family and I've learned to trust him. And so when he presented the first deal to me, and this is the deal that I was a limited partner on in January of 2024 that we closed on. It was a 12 unit. I was more inclined to listen because of the relationship that we had and the trust that we built over the years. And that is really important to me is number one, the type of relationship that I have with the operator, and also the values, right? I know that especially you, like, I know that you were on Northwood, and I was like, John's on the deal, then, that's all I need to know, right? Because how many times were you there for me, and I just love how I just love how you teach us, and you've just always been there, right? And it's important to know that the people that on your team are solid people, that they have similar values as you, that they have similar vision as you, and that character is something that you really admire and respect. And so, with all the members of the team, I really admire all those things, the values that they have, the vision that they have, their character. And so, that is what I use to vet operators. And, it's their values, their vision, and their character.
Yeah, I love that. You talked about the relationships, the value, the character of the individuals. It goes far. And to your point, it's not just, hey, I know this person, but you get a chance to see how they act, right? How responsive are they? And you talked about, me being there as a, kind of a coach and being able to help out. And it's something that, I pride myself on is being present, being a coach who actually cares and helps and answers the call when clients have questions. And it's great to hear that come full circle. And it goes back to serving, right? It's not, we don't do it just to do it or do it with something in mind, 2, 3 years down the road. We do it because it's how we want to be treated. We want people to help us in the same capacity as how you view yourself. And that's got to be you, right? That's just character. That's just your own personal values. That's who you are at your core. I think when you're looking to work with people, you have to evaluate these things, when you're hiring a coach, when you're, going to invest with an operator, when you're going to bring on an investor, you want to really understand who you're partnering with because it is a partnership, right? How you partner may be a little bit different, but there's going to be a shared interest in success. And you're looking for that other individual to deliver certain things. You may not know what those things are right away, but you want to make sure that you've got somebody who's going to ride or die and do everything they can to help you and help these deals be successful. And it's really important to identify people with great character who can help you do that. Talking about something you've learned along the way, right? Just something you learned, something that, maybe was a surprise, but something that you learned throughout your investing journey.
Wow, something that I've learned throughout my investing journey is that there are people who you think may not have money who have money until you actually make the ask. And so that was the other, actually, most recently at the conference that we went to. Yes, we had an exercise. All these exercises is what challenges me. So we had an exercise where we, had to call the people within our network and ask, okay, well, who do you know who wants to double their income in the next 5 to 7 years? And the people that we called were like, oh yeah, I do. And so that was an opportunity to let them know how they can do that, and that this opportunity is present. And the next thing is that, well, we had to ask, okay, well, if I had an opportunity, like, how much money would you be willing to invest? And I was blown away because at that exercise, I raised about $110,000, right? And that was in 5 minutes. And that was really eye-opening to me. So I was just like, okay, I need to be implementing this more often because you don't know until you actually make the ask.
I love it, right? You got to make the ask. In 5 minutes, you raised $110,000 through that exercise. So it just goes to show you have to make the ask. You have to get in front of the people and make sure you understand what they're looking for. So great insights right there. Dr. J, I know you're pretty active on LinkedIn as well. For folks who want to connect and learn more, they can go to LinkedIn and we'll put a link to your bio, your page in our show notes, and our listeners can check you out there. Right now, we're going to transition and go to our round of insights. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmoncapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmoncapital.com and click on the Mastermind button today. All right, Dr. J, give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
Wow. So this is like not, it's related to real estate, but not. So a lot of people see me as a physician and they're like, oh, wow, she's so successful. She's a doctor. But it took me 3 years to get into medical school. I took the MCAT 5 times, and it's because of that, it's been a testament to just everything that I've experienced, even in real estate, right? It's been a testament to faith and persistence. And so it just showed me that I'm able to bounce back from any challenge, right? And that's the same thing that happened in real estate. I could not, it was hard for me to handle those single family homes by myself. And I'm so grateful that my CPA told me about investing in apartment buildings, and I said yes, and it's led me to where I am today. And so that failure just really shows me who I am, and that no matter the obstacle, I'm always going to overcome.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for our listeners.
A digital or mobile resource. I would say Multifamily Insights. This podcast right here, because you have hundreds. And listen, if you just want to binge on real estate, okay, this podcast has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes for you to listen to. So this resource right here, for sure.
I appreciate the plug. Thank you for sharing that. All right, give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
Okay, so it's the Red Book. You know him. He's your coach. The book of apartment syndication.
The best ever apartment syndication book.
The best ever.
Yeah, it's the best apartment investing syndication book ever. It's Joe Fairless's book on apartment syndication. Yes. I forgot how he named it, but yes.
Yes. That Red Book is gold. It's
phenomenal
gold.
Book. Yeah.
Yes, it's a phenomenal book. And I saw that you were also in the first pages. I was like, oh, I know Casmon Capital.
Yep, Joe's a great friend of mine and the program, and one of my mentors. So it's great, absolutely great book. I told him he did an excellent job of laying out some of the processes and key steps in that book. So check it out, the best ever apartment syndication book. All right, give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
Prayer and meditation. I have to, that's a non-negotiable for me. It's the first thing that I do when I wake up. Get my coffee and just sit quietly and pray and meditate and create my intentions for the day. I sit in gratitude and silence. It's really important because, especially with being a full-time physician and investing in real estate, sometimes it can be busy, but I need to have a grounding space for myself where I can quietly and just really think, okay, well, what am I doing this all for, right? It's important to make sure that you always, always, always go back to your why. Otherwise, you'll just be performing actions and not even know why you're performing it.
I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. Give me your number one insight for investing as a healthcare professional.
Yes, my number one insight is invest in assets that match your lifestyle.
There you go. Love that one. Let's go in a different direction. You are in Nashville. Give us your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
My favorite place to grab a bite to eat, I would say Urban Grub. It's a seafood spot. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Urban Grub sounds like a great spot. We'll have to get back to Nashville and put that one on the list as well.
Yeah.
Dr. J, really enjoyed our conversation, right? A couple things jump out to me. First of all, when you talk about getting into real estate, being an accidental landlord, you didn't time it the way you wanted. And I think a lot of times people want things to follow a certain process. And that's just not how life works, right? I mean, sure, in your world, it would have been nice if you could have finished residency and got all your medical degrees and then slowly start to build your real estate portfolio on the side. But it just didn't work that way. And when you were faced with the challenge of the time crunch, the anxiety, the stress, you got that advice from your CPA to go bigger. And you took that advice, learned about apartment investing syndication, joined the mastermind, been able to show up to the different coaching sessions, the calls, the events, taking feedback from myself and other coaches, and ultimately move forward in growing your portfolio. The thing I love is that you're now helping other people, and you recognize that you have a voice, you have a story, and your story can help other people get the same benefits you're getting from real estate investing and avoid some of the stresses and the anxiety that you experienced early on. I just think it's really important for us to own our own journey and to share our journey, our story, and recognize that it doesn't have to be this, ridiculously crazy story in order to have an impact on someone else's life. So I love that you're doing that. I'm glad you're being more open, that you're sharing it with these meetup events, that you're coming on here on the podcast and being more open with what you're going through. I appreciate all of that. Again, for folks who want to learn more about Dr. J, please follow her on LinkedIn, connect with her there. We will put a link to her show notes or put a link to her LinkedIn page in our show notes. Dr. J, I want to thank you again for being a great guest and coming on Multifamily Insights. We look forward to staying in touch with you, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Can I just say one other thing?
Sure.
Okay, so I also want to give you your flowers because you have been very pivotal in this journey of mine. As you know where I started from, and it was not easy. I had so many doubts, but I'm so grateful for every phone call that you took from mine in between patients, and even helping me with my first investor who invested into Northwood Apartments. Like, I really would not be able to do it without your support. So I'm so grateful for just your outpour of just amazing coaching and always being there, a shoulder to lean on, to cry on when I felt like I wanted to cry. But no, you have been pivotal in this journey. So thank you so much.
Dr. J, I'm happy to help. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And you obviously put in the work. So it's one thing to get the feedback in the direction. It still says something about you to actually put in the work and take the right steps. So congratulations to you on your journey, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Thanks for coming on the show today. And of course, we'll be in touch. Take care.